Okay, but the thinking quadrant is far away from the feeling quadrant. So here the emotions or feelings of the moon, I don't like to say emotions because emotions I put the Venus, attraction, repulsion. This is the feelings, the memories, the reflections. That tends to get intellectualized and tends to involve people and tends to be projected onto other people. I think I'm insecure. I think you're doing this to me, or I think I have to do this to you. It's pulling you out more and more into outer situations as to what's needed. And it pulls out a thinking about what's needed and the feeling that you have to do that. So your memories start to pull into your thinkings, and they put into effect of how you're projecting your status and your position in life. I have my moon in this quadrant, and it's in Cancer, but it's in the 11th house. And a lot of my life I was traveling. I had nothing, but I always would meet someone. I'd stay at their place. I stay at my friends' places. So I'd be secure in my friends' places. But as I got older and I got my own place, other friends would be coming to stay in my place. But this idea of being social, having parties, having people over to me, that is a very strong instinct in my chart. I'm often thinking about that. It's part of my social, functional sense of security. So I have the astrology, but I always feel the need to be part of a group, to make a group, to pass it on, to share it with others. And that comes out like that. So it's not just about studying, it's about making it useful to other people. That takes a lot of my thinking. When I'm not doing that, I start feeling negative or down, and it starts affecting my behavior to try and rise to the occasion again. Which usually means write something else, do another webinar, do something else, put it out. Okay, as soon as you put the moon, it goes on to the setting side. Instead of projecting with the intuitions and the thinking, you start reacting, and the sensation is functional. It's like, who do you know? Of all the people you know, are you hanging around a gang, or hanging around people that believe in the same things, or live the same way as you, or don't live the same way as you? Depends already on attitudes. If you don't get along with your mom, why did I go up here? You're gonna have a negative attitude about where you belong or how you feel secure, and you might track people who have the same problem. Then you feel secure. Because if you're around people that have everything together and you don't, you're gonna compare, and you're gonna be sensitive to it, and you're gonna realize you're the odd one out here. And you'll react to it. So there's a tendency to be, with the moon here, there's a tendency to be feeling a little more than you should about the interreactions, to take it a little more personal because it's the moon, but really you're remembering all the things that happen about it, and you're reacting to this happened this way, so I gotta live, so I have to live this way. It almost justifies how you have to live. But if you're justifying it wrong, you'll be collecting all these bad habits, hanging around with the wrong people. If you're living right and your memories are guiding you properly, you'll start to attract people with similar things that reinforce your feelings and you're sharing, and it builds up a teamwork that works really, really well. You put your energies together and can work with each other because you're sensitive to each other. That's a sensation, but that sensation of being sensitive to the other person is very different than the intuitions of just having to write your book or get your ideas out. They oppose each other. So if you have your moon in one quadrant and someone else in the opposing quadrant, you know your instincts are opposite to begin with. That doesn't mean you can't be together. It just means they're different. If you both have the same, it can be really good or it can be very competitive. So when the moon starts going down into the feeling quadrant, down below the horizon, it's subjective. You're reacting, but it's subjective. So you're reacting, but it's hardly, it may be tied up somewhat to other people, but it's long beyond it. You've gone into a mood, you've gone into something in yourself, and nobody else can reach you about it because you've taken it into yourself and you have to fester on it a little bit. So this feelings, you hurt my feelings, you made my day, you like me, this is wonderful, this is good, this is the moon feeling itself. The moon's most comfortable in the feeling quadrant. Feeling, memory, feeling secure, but at the same time, even though it's most sensitive and comfortable there, if you're not feeling secure, something, I'm going to have to react. It's almost overreactive on feelings. Whereas the opposite is almost overreactive on thinking. So this is, it's not like we've defined it. We've just gone in and stretched our relationship to the moon and seen how it's, you almost think how these, it's almost as if how these areas of the houses are affecting the moon, but really, it really is the moon's intuitive security sense, its memories. They're being rooted in these experiences. So you can see how these experiences are affecting the moon, but really it's how the moon is being rooted in those experiences and how those experiences play out and how you collect memories lined up to it. And your behavioral habits tied up to your moon are challenging you to develop good habits wherever the moon is, or to diminish some of the negative habits, the bad moods. This becomes more clear when we get to the aspects, next level. We see this, how much stress is tied up to each planet, and we can see how easy or difficult it is for us to do this. So even when it's easy or difficult, whatever you have, it's what's normal for you. Your chart is what's normal for you. You're it. And you can make it better or not every day. But when we start feeling we need other people or we need a job or other positions more than we are okay with ourselves, that represents a certain type of interrelationship. If you really feel okay in yourself and that's okay, and the other person is doing the same, then that's fine, but it's not so functional. It's just each person doing their own thing. So when you get the opposite, it's challenging. Even the ones beside each other are challenging. One's putting out intuitions, one taking in feeling. So one's interacting sensitively, somewhat objectively, and the other person's taking it all personally. You can start to see how one's reacting and the other's thinking and what the influence, but they're not reacting to the sensitive. They'll talk, but they won't listen to other people so much. So this thinking and sensation still have a stress pattern within each other. The thinking and the intuition struggle with each other. So all of these, the recognizable things, but when you see people with different ones, you'll see this stress pattern working out. You see these behavioral patterns working out in the actual biopsychic nature of the closeness or the sympathy link between those two people. So between a mother and father and both attitudes to bringing up a kid, wow, a little bit of thinking, you could do, I'm going to write a paragraph on it. You end up writing a book on it because it keeps expanding. You say, oh, wow, look at that. Oh, gee. And being able to, a lot of, I mean, most psychology is dealing with 8 types, 16 types, 12 types, and everything fits into these, maybe 32 types, and they fit into these categories. With astrology, the signs, the houses, the planets, there's so many specific categories and types that is so much more sophisticated. It's like if you're building a house, you can use something that has inches and feet marked on it, but you're not going to use millimeters, or you're not going to use, if you had meters and centimeters, you're not necessarily going to need to use millimeters when you're building a house. But if you're building an instrument or something more refined, the foot, the feet, the foot, or the meters, or the centimeters wouldn't be used as much as the millimeters and the really fine-tuned divisions. So depending how well the tuning system is, how accurate it is, that's how accurate you could be. So a lot of the charts, you just put the houses on, you put the planets in the houses, right in the aspects, you read everything into the houses, and everything means that way. That goes a certain way, and it's useful, you can use it, but it's leaving out so many other things. It's not it's like doing surgery with a bread knife instead of bread and butter knife instead of a scalpel. When you get accurate, you want to get into someone's psyche, you want to see where someone's going, you want to get into the behavior. You're just tuning into all the possibilities. You're not defining a person, you're tuning in, but you can go to such a level of degrees. And so that deep, most people don't realize you can do that. Even astrologers, they'll think how they're seeing it is just it. And there's always more to go, or deeper you can go. But not always can you go deeper and make use of it. So, okay. I'm just doing this because of the wonder of the moon in the signs, picking up the attitude to our behavior and the effects of our behavior in worldly circumstances, between our subjective and objective being, between our projecting and reacting being, between how we communicate, how we collect experiences, and when we reflect on them, the basic nature of how we reflect on it. So if I have my moon up in the thinking quadrant, I'll reflect on I have a past memory. I remember I'm doing all this thing. What happened here? Why did they do that? Why did that? What was happening? How come that happened like this? I could fester on it a long time, just pulling my thoughts away from just letting it go and saying, okay, that happened. But that would be what the moon would do for me. And as I'm doing that, if I met someone else who was doing the same, we click into the same pattern. But if I met someone who's different, they might try and pull me out of it or whatever. It starts to differentiate quite a lot. So, okay, it's just the same drawing with the houses. So, okay, we got it. Always when you're working through this, up to the stage, we're going from the opposite way of the houses are numbered. 3, 2, 1, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 is the rising and setting. It's just they were numbered this way because of how they went through the signs. But if you take the rising and setting, you're really working with them in the opposite direction. Okay, we get past that. Okay, here's where we are. Now, we have all the different categories for each of the houses. As you go along, they're all put in here with keywords and things. So we're going to have to go through this. So we'll just start. Now, because of the tradition in astrology being how the angular, succeeding, cadent goes, I'm working with those. In a certain way, on another level, the third house, we're going to work it so you see how the third house goes to the second, goes to the first. It's moving the other way, but we can still maintain these categories and see them around it. Okay, we're good. Okay, now